Good day, children. I hope all of you are fine and keeping in good health by the grace of God. I will be teaching Standard 10th Geography, Chapter 3, Physiography and Drainage. We will first compare the physiography of India and Brazil. There are 5 physical divisions of India as seen on the map. They are the Himalayas, the North Indian Plains, the Peninsular Plateau, the coastal plains, and the group of islands which are a part of the Indian mainland. The Himalayas are the youngest or the most recently formed fold mountains. They extend from the Pamir Knot or the Pamir Plateau to the north of India, that is from Tajikistan, to almost China, which is in the east. In India, the Himalayas extend from Jammu and Kashmir in the west to Arunachal Pradesh in the east. The Himalayas are not a single mountain, but a series of mountain ranges. These ranges, as you can see, run parallel to one another, just like the folds on a piece of cloth. The southernmost range is the Shivlik Range. It is the most recently formed mountain range. Next to it lies the Lesser Himalayas, which are called the Lesser Himalayas because they have a lesser altitude as compared to the Himalayan ranges in the north. Further north, you have the Greater Himalayas, which are also called Himadris because they are perennially covered with snow. The northernmost range is known as the Trans-Himalayan Range. From the Greater Himalayas onwards, towards the north, the altitude of most of the mountains is more than 6,000 meters above sea level. The Himalayan mountain ranges are also divided into Western Himalayas or Kashmir Himalayas, Central Himalayas or Kumaon Himalayas, which lie totally in Nepal, and Eastern Himalayas or Assam Himalayas, which are also known as Arunachal Himalayas, based on their east-west extent. We come to the next physiographic division, which is the North Indian Plain. This physical division lies between the Himalayas in the north and the Peninsular Plateau in the south. It extends from Rajasthan and Punjab in the west to Assam in the east. It is a flat, low-lying region. It is divided into two parts by the Aravalli Mountains. The part to the east of the Aravallis is called the Ganga Plains because the Ganga Basin lies over here. Further east, where the river Ganga and Brahmaputra meet, the plains form a delta system called the Sundarbans. A delta is a triangular region formed at the mouth of a river because of alluvium that is deposited there. These alluvium deposits cause obstructions in the flow of the river, which starts splitting up into many channels called distributaries, and slowly These distributaries form a triangular region. Since this region resembles the shape of the Greek letter delta, it is called a delta region. Now, the Sundarbans are considered to be the largest delta in the world. The plains to the west of the Aravalli Mountains has become a desert because it lies on the leeward side of the Aravalli Mountains, forming a rain shadow region. This desert region is called the Marusthali. To the north of the Marusthali lies the plains of the Punjab and Haryana. Since the river Satluj and its tributaries flow through this region, a lot of alluvium is deposited here, making it a very fertile region. Therefore, agriculture is practiced on a very large scale in this region. This region slopes towards the west. The next physiographic division that we will be studying about is the Peninsular Plateau region. It is located to the south of the North Indian Plains and between the eastern and the western Ghats. It tapers towards the south. It consists of many hills and plateaus, as can be seen in the map. The mountains that are part of this region are the Aravalli Mountains to the north and the Vindhyas and the Satpura Mountains in the central region. A series of plateaus border the northern part of this region, like the Malwa Plateau, the Bundelkhand Plateau, the Vindhyachal Plateau, and a very important plateau that is the Chota Nagpur Plateau, which is known for its mineral resources. The southern part of this region is occupied by the Deccan Plateau. It is this Deccan Plateau that lies between the western and eastern Ghats. The next physiographic division are the coastal plains. That is the western coastal plain and the eastern coastal plain. These lie to the south of the North Indian Plains and to the west and the east of the Peninsular Plateau. This coastline is around 7,500 kilometers long. There is a big difference between the western coastal plains and the eastern coastal plains. The western coast is very rocky. It lies between the Western Ghats and the Arabian Sea. The eastern coastal plain, on the other hand, lies between the Eastern Ghats and the Bay of Bengal. Since the western coast is very rocky, at some places, in fact, it almost extends right up to the sea coast, making this region very steep. The eastern coast has a very gentle slope because it has been formed because of the deposits brought down by the rivers that flow through this region. The western coast, as you can see on the map, is very narrow, while the eastern coast is quite wide. The rivers that originate in the western coast or in the Western Ghats are very swift because they flow over steep, rocky regions and their course is very short as The western coast is very narrow. The rivers that flow through the eastern coast are not swift because they flow over gently sloping plains. And also, since the eastern coast is wide, their course is also longer. The rivers that flow over the western coast form estuaries at their mouth, while the rivers that flow over the eastern coast form deltas at their mouth. The last physiographic region that we are studying in the Indian group of physical features are the islands which are a part of the Indian mainland. There are many large and small islands found close to the Indian mainland. But besides these, there are two very large groups of islands. They are the Lakshadweep Islands in the Arabian Sea and the Andaman and Nicobar Islands in the Bay of Bengal. The Lakshadweep Islands are atoll islands. An atoll is an island made up of coral reefs. It is generally the rim of a crater of a volcano which has been partially submerged under the sea. The islands in the Lakshadweep are not very high or large. The Andaman Islands are large volcanic hills. The barren islands in the Andaman group is an active volcano. In fact, it is the only active volcano in India. The Nicobar group of islands are once again atolls. We now come to the physiographic divisions of Brazil. Brazil too has 5 physiographic divisions. They are the highlands, the Great Escarpment, the coasts, the river plains, and the Brazilian islands. The first physiographic feature that we are studying are the Brazilian highlands. These highlands can be divided into 2 sections, that is, the Guyana highland in the north and the Brazilian highlands in the south. The Guyana highlands extend right from Venezuela up to French Guiana. The lower or the southern part of this Guyana highland lies in the northern part of Brazil. The highest peak of this region is the Pico di Neblina, which has an altitude of around 3014 meters above sea level. It lies on the borders between Brazil and Venezuela. The other highland is found the southeast of Brazil, and they are the Brazilian highlands. They are also called the Brazilian plateau or the Brazilian shield because they have never been submerged under sea. Ever since they were formed, they have always been above water. In the south and in the east, the altitude of the Brazilian highlands is more than 1000 meters. In other parts, the altitude of the Brazilian highlands is between 500 to 1000 meters. To the south of the Brazilian highlands lies the Great Escarpment. This is the next physiographic feature in Brazil. The Great Escarpment is found on the eastern side of the Brazilian highland. In the east, the altitude of the escarpment is 790 meters. But in some regions, the height decreases. In the south, that is right from Sao Paulo to Porto Alegre, the escarpment is very steep. The Great Escarpment is a small region, but it has a great effect on the climate of Brazil. It acts as a barrier to the southeast trade winds. As these trade winds are moisture-laden winds, when they blow over this region, they empty themselves here along the coast. Then these winds become dry when they cross over the escarpments. So the leeward side of the escarpment forms a rain shadow region in the northeastern part of Brazil. These regions in the northeastern parts are called the drought quadrilateral. The next physical feature in Brazil is the coastal region. Brazil has a coastline of about 7,400 kilometers. The coast is only on the eastern side of Brazil, but it is divided into two sections, the northern coast and the eastern coast, or the southern coast. The difference between these two coasts is that the northern coast extends from Amapá province in Brazil up to Rio de Grande do Norte, while the eastern coast extends from Rio de Grande do Norte up to the southern tip of Brazil. There are many big rivers in the north. One of them is the Amazon River. There are many smaller rivers in the southern part, which flow along the eastern coast or the southern coast of Brazil. The northern coast is a low-lying region. So at the mouth of the rivers, huge deposits have been formed. And these deposits in turn form islands, like the Marajo Islands and the São Maracós Bay. There is only one major river, that is the São Francisco, that flows over the eastern coast. A number of smaller rivers run through this eastern coast, and therefore they form beaches and sand dunes. Along both these coasts, you find coral reefs and atoll islands. The Brazilian plains or the river plains in Brazil form another physical feature. These plains are confined to two regions, the Amazon in the north and the Parana Paraguay River Basin in the southwestern region. The Amazon plains have been formed by the deposits brought down by the river Amazon. This region lies between the Guiana highlands in the north and the Brazilian highlands in the south. The Amazon plain slopes eastward. It is approximately 1,300 kilometers wide in the west and narrows down to almost 240 kilometers in the east. Near the Atlantic Ocean, it once again widens. This region is highly inaccessible because of the dense tropical rainforests and due to frequent flooding of the river Amazon. We come to the other plain in the south, formed due to the Parana and Paraguay rivers. The source region, where these rivers begin, lie in the south. The source of the Parana lies towards the southwest, whereas the source of the Paraguay lies to the south of Brazil. Towards the southwestern part of this region, that is the Parana and Paraguay river basin, there is a marshy land formed called Pantanal. It is the largest wetland in the world. A wetland is a marshy land. To the northwest of this region lies the Mato Grosso do Sul, which is again a region of great swamps and marshes, which is also a very big tourist spot. The last physical feature that we come to are the Brazilian islands. They are a part of the Brazilian mainland. They are classified into two types: the coastal islands, like the Marajo Island, and the marine islands, which are about 300 kilometers away from the mainland and lie in the Atlantic Ocean. These marine islands are mostly atolls. These are rocky islands. We shall now study the similarities and differences in the river systems of India and Brazil. The rivers in India can be classified into two types: the Himalayan river system and the Peninsular River system. We shall first study about the Himalayan river system. These rivers originate from various glaciers that are perennial in nature because they get their waters from the glaciers that melt in summer and from the heavy monsoons that are experienced here. The Himalayan rivers are further subdivided into two systems: the Ganga river system, which is seen in the North Indian plains, and the Sindhu or the Indus river system, seen in the northwestern side. The Sindhu or the Indus and its tributaries flow in the western Himalayas through the states of Jammu and Kashmir. Most of these rivers flow parallel to each other. The Satluj, which originates near Lake Mansarovar in Tibet, flows through Punjab and then flows westward into Pakistan and then meets the Arabian Sea. These rivers, as you can see, run parallel to each other. And all these rivers meet the Arabian Sea. We come to the other river system in the north, that is the Ganga river system. The river Ganga originates from the Gangotri glacier and crosses the Himalayas to become an east-flowing river. As you can see, many tributaries of the Ganga also flow eastward in a similar manner. Yamuna originates at Yamunotri in the Himalayas. It is a major tributary of the river Ganga and it joins the river Ganga in the northern plains. Another major tributary of the Ganga flows towards the northern part of the Greater Himalayas, which lie in China. When it flows through that region, it is called Sangpo. It crosses the Himalayas and enters India in the northeast, where it is called Siang. And thereafter, it flows southward and it is called Brahmaputra. From time to time, Ganga meets its tributaries. Hence, A lot of water is discharged into the Ganga, and the volume of water increases. The river Ganga receives Brahmaputra as its tributary when it reaches Bangladesh. The huge volume of water has led to huge deposits of alluvium, forming the largest delta region at the mouth of the river Ganga, that is the Sundarban. Besides these, you also have a number of tributaries from the peninsular region flowing into the Ganga, that is from the south, flowing into the river Ganga, like the rivers Chambal, the rivers Ken, the rivers Betwa, Son, and a very big river, the river Damodar. We come now to the peninsular river systems. The peninsular river systems can further be divided into east flowing rivers, or the rivers that meet the Bay of Bengal, and west flowing rivers which meet the Arabian Sea. The Western Ghats divide these rivers into east flowing rivers and west flowing rivers. Therefore, the Western Ghats form a major water divide in the peninsular region. All these peninsular rivers are rain-fed rivers, and therefore they rarely face the problem of flooding because they are seasonal in nature. That is, the volume of water in these rivers increases only during the monsoons. When you move towards the west, you can see on both the maps there are west flowing rivers. In the peninsular region, there are rivers which are very, very short in length, but their flow is very swift because they are flowing through rocky regions of the west coast. All the rivers in the west meet the Arabian Sea. These rivers are small in size and can be seen in Kerala, Karnataka, Maharashtra, and southern Gujarat. Further north, one comes across the river systems which flow into the Gulf of Kambat. These rivers are the rivers Tapi, Narmada, Mahi, and Sabarmati. These are the west flowing rivers also. The Tapi and the Narmada flow slowly through rift valleys that are in the central hilly regions of India. The river Mahi flows from northeast to southwest direction, whereas river Sabarmati originates in the southern slopes of the Aravalli Mountains and flows in a somewhat north-south direction. Another noteworthy river is the river Luni, which is a west flowing river that goes and empties itself into the Arabian Sea. The river Luni originates along the western slope of the Aravalli ranges and flows in a somewhat northwest to southeast direction. We come to the east flowing rivers that meet the Bay of Bengal. Most of the areas of the peninsula is drained by these east flowing rivers. The important rivers that are in this system are the river Mahanadi, the river Godavari, the rivers Krishna and Kaveri. The river Mahanadi and its basin occupies the northeastern part of the peninsular region. The rivers Godavari, Krishna, and Kaveri originate in the eastern slopes of the Western Ghats, that is in the Sahyadris, and they flow across the Peninsular region, cut across the Eastern Ghats, and empty themselves into the Bay of Bengal. River Godavari is the second largest river system in India in terms of the catchment area. That is, its course, the length of its course. To the south of the Godavari, you have the basins of the river Krishna. The major tributary of the river Krishna are the Bhima and the Tungabhadra. River Kaveri flows through the states of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. It is another major river in the peninsular region. It has been used for irrigation since ancient times. We come now to the rivers of Brazil. In the Brazilian river system, you have three river systems: the Amazon river system, the Parana Paraguay river system in the southwest, and the São Francisco river system in the eastern part of the highlands, and also other rivers that flow along the coast. We shall first study the Amazon river system. The Amazon collects its headwaters, that means it has its source on the eastern slopes of the Andes Mountains in Peru, a country which lies to the east of Brazil. The Amazon receives huge discharge of water, that is about 2 lakh, approximately 2 lakh 9,000 cubic meters per second. As a result, Amazon washes off the load supplied to it from the catchment. That means there's a lot of soil erosion taking place. Consequently, sediments are not deposited even at the mouth because of the huge volume of water which rushes down. A dense network of distributaries is a characteristic feature of the Amazon River at its mouth, which is by and large absent. Instead, we find a series of islands developing around the mouth of the Amazon, beyond the coastline and right into the Atlantic Ocean. At the mouth, the width of the Amazon Channel is 150 kilometers. Most of the course of the Amazon can be used for navigation. We come to the next river system, that is the Parana Paraguay river system in the southwestern part of Brazil. Both the rivers, the Parana and the Paraguay, form the catchment of the river Plata, which is in Argentina. These two rivers, along with the river Uruguay, which can be seen extremely south on your maps, collect their headwaters from the southern part of the highland, which is seen in the central part of this map, west of the Great Escarpment. The last river that we will be studying about is the São Francisco River system. It is the third most important river in Brazil. The entire basin of this river lies within Brazil, unlike the other two river systems which originate in other countries or flow through Brazil and then into other countries. But unlike them, São Francisco originates in Brazil, flows through Brazil, and then empties itself into the Atlantic Ocean. That means the entire basin of this river lies within Brazil. It occupies the eastern portion of the highlands. This river flows towards the north for a distance of about 1,000 kilometers and then takes a sharp eastward turn to enter the coastal strip along the Atlantic Ocean. The South Francisco is navigable only for about 2,500 kilometers. Sorry, 250 kilometers. That also when it is close to the Atlantic Ocean. Besides these, there are a number of very small coastal rivers along the coast of Brazil, like the river Praniba and river Itapecuru. These rivers enter the South Atlantic Ocean, collect their headwaters along the escarpment, and they enter the Atlantic Ocean near Salvador, which is a town in Brazil. So what we have studied here are the physiographic features of India and Brazil, as well as the river systems found in India and Brazil. That's all for now. Thank you, girls. Have a nice day.